Hi guys, welcome to another bowling review video. So today we're gonna be reviewing another fellow YouTube content creator, and his channel name is Boyd's Bowling Brand. So Boyd's Bowling Brand, I'm gonna just play his video, his latest video in the background. He actually, he checked out some of my videos. Thank you very much for watching my videos as well. And he asked for a review. He said, Coach, could you take a look at my channel video? So give me a review. I'm like, sure. So I looked at this guy, and he's obviously a pretty good bowler, right? So I mean, he does have some inefficiencies in his form. If I were to judge it based on like my standard, like my ideal two-handed game, but he has all the basic fundamentals of a good physical game, right? So what I mean by basic fundamentals of a good physical game is that no matter how you look, like whether you have like perfect finishing position or not, or whether bend your arm swing or you have a straight arm swing, whether you bowl like Jacob Butroff, whether you bowl like Jacob Butroff or whether you bowl like Jason Belmonte, right? No matter how you look, as long as you have the three basic fundamentals of what I consider a good physical game, you are more or less, you're quite set, right, to be a competitive bowler. So the three basic fundamentals I would, for especially for the two-handed game, I would say first and foremost is balance. You gotta have good balance. Second is actually ball speed. So ball speed, I rank it really high among the top three. So first and foremost is always balance, because without balance you can't do anything. So balance, ball speed, and the third and last one is actually accuracy. Because obviously bowling is still a precision sport. We're trying to hit pins that are like 60 feet down the lane, and if you walk like down the side of a bowling alley, right, walk down the side of a bowling alley from the foul line all the way to the pins, you will see that actually it's quite far away. 60 feet is actually decently far away, and to hit such a fine pocket target, like small target 60 feet down the lane, you gotta have really good accuracy, and precision, it comes with part of it. So I'm just gonna summarize and call it like accuracy. So as long as you have balance, ball speed, and accuracy, I would say your physical game is more or less set. And actually, Mr. Boyd here has all these three, right? So if you look at his bowling, obviously he has really good balance at the foul line. Look at how he plants it. Like he doesn't need to fall off. So I'm just gonna repeat. He, like, some of the shots, yes, he does fall off, but some of it you can see that if he actually commits to planting his weight there and nailing his finishing position, he can be very stable at the foul line. And he obviously has ball speed, so his ball travels pretty fast down the lane, strikes extremely well, and his accuracy is pretty decent as well, right? So you can see here, Boyd is trying to hit like consistently between the third and fourth arrow, and you can see that he hits it here in this shot, he hits it in the previous shot, hits a strike. This one he goes, he misses a bit left, either that or he chooses to play a bit deeper. This one he hits his target again. So Boyd here has pretty good accuracy. So he has all the three components. But obviously his form is not as efficient as it can be, and I'm gonna comment on like what he can do, right? What changes he can do to make his form a little bit more efficient, and what kind of trainings he could do, like to further improve himself as a player. Because I know that for Boyd, he's probably looking at to be like a truly competitive bowler, like to join the PBA Tour, to be a competing pro and so on, because he seems to be very passionate about two-handed bowling. And as his video always says, road to the PBA, right? So he is actually working towards the PBA, and yeah, he wants to be a top bowler in the world. So in order to get to the top, it's we're gonna start talking about all the subtle things you need to improve on, all the skill sets you need to have in order to make it at the among the best bowlers in the world. So yeah, so first and foremost, let's talk about his form now, right? Let's look at his latest one. So first and foremost, finishing position wise, it's not bad. Knee bend is excellent. So Boyd here is kind of I think a decently big guy, right? So I know in America they use the pounds and feet, they use the imperial measuring system, but here in Singapore as well as the rest of the world, we use the metric measuring system. So the metric measuring system would mean that I would talk about his height in meters, and I think Mr. Boyd is at least 1.85 meters in height, and he's quite a big dude, right? Like he's quite well built. He's He doesn't look like he's overweight. He seems to have spent time in the gym. He has taken good care of his body. He has long arms as well, perfect for athlete, whether you're playing basketball or bowling, and so on. So he's very athletic, and coming back to his finishing position, is excellent knee bend. He has great strength in his legs. His balance arm obviously could be a little bit better. Like most of the time, I see a lot of his finishing shots, his balance arm isn't totally straight. So maybe he can just work on this to improve his balance a little bit better. His trailing leg is a little bit too much to the side, but that's because he tends to finish in this sideward position. I don't see this being as too much of an issue as long as I mentioned that his balance is good. Then he tilts his spine over to this side, but this is actually more a function of him tilting his spine forward. So basically his hips, right, are now facing sideways. So his hips are now facing towards here when he finishes. So when his hips are facing sideways, right, like his hips are facing towards here. Oh, wrong. Hips are facing towards here. And then when he tilts forward, he will create this gap on the right side of his body here, so for the ball to come through. So obviously lots of space for the ball to come through. When he releases, let's see whether he release close to his left feet, decently close to his left feet. Yep, so he releases here. So ball release here. So like if you're talking about the distance between the left feet and the ball, it's not too far, like quite a small distance away. So not too bad, decently close to his left feet. But his release is late though. So his release is late, and I will talk about it slightly later. So late release, and it causes his ball to have a very weird axis tilt. We call it negative axis tilt rather than positive axis tilt, and it does affect his ball motion. And I would highly suggest for Boyd to try his best to fix the axis tilt issue with his release if he's going to be competitive in the PBA, because if not, he's not going to get a competitive ball motion, especially when it comes to playing on sports oiling, PBA oilings, or like any of those international sport oilings. He has to have a positive axis tilt. Okay. Yeah, so release is pretty good. If we talk about his arm swing, let's take a look at his backswing. So relatively straight backswing on the downswing. His elbow is still slightly bent so on the downswing. You can see his elbow is bent slightly, like it's not fully straight. Let's see if we can get a better view. Like here you can see that his elbow is slightly bent, but as he goes down, yeah, it's still actually bent. So Boyd, I would suggest for Boyd to work on this downswing, on straightening his downswing, so that he can have a smoother swing arc on his downswing. So the reason why you want to like fully straighten this downswing is part of the reason is for ball speed. Obviously, the longer swing you have, the higher your ball speed. But Boyd here doesn't need further ball speed, right? He already has amazing ball speed with how he actually accelerates the ball. So I think Boyd accelerates the ball with his arms and his shoulder muscles on his downswing, which is good, which is what I recommend for all two-handed and one-handed bowlers as well, to increase your ball speed and have your ball driving forward. So he drives his ball forward with his shoulder muscles on the downswing, and that's what gives him a majority of his ball speed. Obviously, his long arms helps as well. So he can actually further maximize his advantage here by actually straightening his arm swing on the way down. Like this ideally should be it. Straighten on the downswing, like he has to relax his elbows a little bit more, and then try his best to work on straightening that downswing, because it will actually help him have a better swing arc. So we're talking about swing arc, we're talking about this motion to the bottom of his swing. So right now his motion is not as smooth as it can be, because when you look at his release, right, I'm going to compare it with Oscar Palema. Like he's releasing his ball here, and yeah, you can see here, Boyd's elbow, right, is still a little bit bent even at the release point. But when I compare it to Oscar Palema's, Oscar's arm is completely straight at the release window. So that straight arm swing gives Osku a lot of a better release window, more room for error when Osku releases a shot, and it also makes it possible for Osku to create positive axis tilt. Where that in this case, it is not possible for Boyd to release this ball earlier because his elbow is bent. So when you have the when your bowling elbow is bent during release, what happens is that your ball kind of get stuck in this motion here, like because his wrist has to like come under the ball and support the ball. So his ball is kind of stuck in a later release motion. So his ball has to release a little bit later as compared to a pro bowler like Osku Palema, and that causes that negative axis tilt. So moving on, let's talk about negative axis tilt, right? So let's see what's negative axis tilt here. Okay, I'm gonna repeat this shot for a few times. Okay, so negative axis tilt, okay, can we have a shot that he doesn't move out from? Let's see, not this, maybe another view. Okay, maybe I can use this. Negative axis tilt is when his ball, right? You can see when it was here. Let me try and get not say perfect, but a better moment. Like here, his axis tilt is this way. So that means the part where we are facing is lower than the other part of the ball. So a positive axis tilt would be this way. Whereby if you look at the axis where the ball is rotating around, the blue one would be positive axis tilt, and the red one, what Boyd's ball is currently having, is what we call negative axis tilt. So let me show you, let's see where we can take a look at Boyd's shot here. Yeah, correct. So we can see maybe okay, this shot is at 28. It's not too bad, but it's a little bit of a negative axis tilt. Yeah, I think it's more obvious here. It's more obvious here. If you look at the rotation, right? So the rotation of Boyd's ball is going like from here to here, right? And we're going to use red here. So which means his axis of rotation is right here. So that creates what we call negative axis tilt. So what negative axis tilt does like badly for the bowler is that it gives your ball motion a little bit of a more abrupt and angular ball motion rather than a smooth arcing ball motion. Like we want to talk about smooth continuous ball motion. For example, if you look at like Osku Palema and Jason Belmonte, I'm gonna show some of show videos from Osku's channel here. So we're gonna remove that so everybody understands what's negative axis tilt, and we're gonna look at some of the shots from Osku Palema. So Osku Palema has positive axis tilt. It's very obvious in this video here. So once he releases the ball, okay, you can see the axis of Osku's rotation is this way, right? His ball is rotating this way, which means Osku's axis tilt is positive this way, right? This is his axis tilt. His ball is rotating because it's kind of like at a certain angle. So his rotation is going from bottom up here. So Osku's ball's axis tilt is this way, right? So it's positive axis tilt. So Osku has positive axis tilt, and when we talk about, if you look at his ball motion, it's really smooth, right? Really smooth, really continuous. Like it seems it looks really sexy, right? Like what like the pros that you see on the PBA Tour on TV, how their shots go. And we have maybe so more Osku Palema shots, and we can look at his positive axis tilt and his ball motion, right? So you can see Osku's ball motion really smooth. Like it's not abrupt, it's not angular. It has this continuous motion, obviously depending on what ball he uses. But you can see that his ball kind of goes smoothly down to the break point, and then it gradually and smoothly makes the turn going into the pocket. So that is the kind of ball motion that you want, and this is the kind of ball motion that you need to be competitive at the top of the world, right? When you're trying to compete among the best bowlers in the world, because not just Oscar Palermo, all of the two-handers, like top two-handers like Anthony Simonson, Kyle Troup, Jason Belmonte, they all have managed to make a positive axis tilt, have positive axis tilt on their shot, and that is the ball motion that they need to be competitive. So, now moving on to how to create the positive axis tilt. This is Oscar Palermo's shot in slow motion, one of his slow motion videos, also on Oscar's channel. And you can see during release, right? So thanks to his slow motion view here, during release, Oscar's arm and elbow is totally straight. So totally straight. And if we look at his back view here when he releases, so during release, obviously his wrist is also at the bottom of the ball. But as he releases, he can release his ball just like a microsecond earlier, like a fraction of a microsecond earlier than Boyd. Like he can release it just after his feet, and he like uncups his wrist. You can see that he uncups his wrist here, and his ball goes smoothly onto the lane. And the moment it goes smoothly onto the lane, you can see the positive axis tilt there. You can see the axis rotation there, the axis tilt. So it goes, unloads, has a straight arm swing, and this means that with a straight arm swing, right, straight elbows, that means that he can release his ball also closer to his left feet as well, closer to his left feet, and it's kind of like a slightly earlier as compared to Boyd, and he can unload the ball as well when his elbow is straight. So he unloads the shot, and you can see that it creates positive axis tilt, and that is the kind of ball motion that is required. So we're gonna clear those lines away, and we're gonna take a look at slow motion release again. So again, notice that his elbows and arm swing is totally straight on the downswing, even though he does bend it on the top of his swing, right? So even though at the top, as you can see at the top of Oscar's swing, even though he bends his elbow, at the bottom of his swing, he actually straightens it. So on the way, as you can see on his downswing, so this is what all the top two-handed bowlers on the PBA Tour do, and I would say that most of the top bowlers among the world would do this, is that even if they have a bent elbow at the top of their arm swing, when their arm swing is going into the downswing, at the start of their downswing, they actually have a way to relax and straighten their bowling elbow, because they want to create that positive axis tilt, and this is they don't want to have a late release, and this is the I would say more like the recommended way. Might not be the only way, but the recommended way to do that. And then we're gonna play it, and you can see that he can unload the ball on release during the release window, and he creates that positive axis tilt. So you can see that if you look at axis tilt, the axis tilt is here. So it's still positive. Positive meaning that the side of the ball that's facing the bowler is higher than the other side. So this is what we call positive axis tilt. So negative axis tilt would be the other way around, where the side of the ball that's facing the bowler is actually lower than the other side. So negative axis tilt is commonly created when you have a late release. And for two-handers, I feel like, and two-handers as well as no thumbless one-handed bowlers, I feel that comes whereby if they keep their elbow bent on the downswing, that is what creates negative axis tilt. Okay, so yeah, so that's enough for Oscar Palermo. So you can obviously, I'll probably link these videos into the video description. You can check out Oscar Palermo's slow motion videos. They are good reference point for us to work towards, especially for the for downswing. So that's that. So other than that, like straightening. So for Boyd, those are the main things I would actually recommend. Like maybe straightening his. Actually he has been working on straightening his balance arm, as well as straightening his bowling elbow on the downswing. Those are the main things I would advise him to work on. Obviously, if we look at his other aspects of his form, Boyd here also can improve on his stance position, because his stance, he actually has his upper body lean forward by quite a lot. So this is a little bit inefficient because what I mean by inefficient is because what I would actually recommend is actually having the upper body being a little bit more upright, so that when we eventually lean our upper body forward when we go into the downswing, you get that weight transfer forward, and when we get the weight transfers forward, it actually helps you to generate that extra forward momentum. So it will actually help your ball speed and momentum of the shot. But it's not too major for Boyd at this state of his game, because he already has more than enough ball speed. So even if he doesn't do that, he will still probably be bowling fine, but it's just that he isn't maximizing the full potential of his body. So that's that. Then those are the main physical aspects of his game that I would suggest that he try and improve if he wants to be the top of the world, like one of the best bowlers in the world. And other than that, what I would suggest is Boyd is at this stage where he has to work on other fine skills, right, in order to be the best. So fine skills, one particular skill I would suggest is target practice. So target practice is something like this, right? I don't know whether people in the West do it, but basically is you can ask for permission from your local bowling center, the one that you regularly train at, or if you're familiar with them, for permission to place like tape on the bowling alley. So you're gonna practice, on different oilings. So maybe you can ask the center whether they can give you some sports oilings as well, like wolf patterns and all that, so they can practice different lines to the pocket, different ball motions to the pocket, and you're gonna practice your consistency in hitting those particular lines and getting that particular, hitting those particular targets in the breakpoint. So for example, let's say you want to practice, the straight down line, right? Like you want to practice close to the gutter if you're going to play for like the wolf pattern, short sports oilings. You're going to play pure urethane on the outside. So what you're going to do to practice this is you're going to put a bit of tape here. So one tape here and another tape probably here at probably the breakpoint where you exit the oil pattern, maybe slightly earlier, like maybe here. And you're going to have maybe another piece of tape here, so that to ensure that you're practicing to get the correct ball motion. So you want your ball motion to go through this two, you want your ball to roll to this two, roll and then go through, hit that tape and then go into the pocket, right? So you want that specific ball motion. So you're gonna put tape there and ensure that your shot hits this 3 tape before it reaches the pocket. And when we're talking about tape, what kind of tape you can use? Very simple, you can use electrical tape. So we call it PVC tape or electrical tape, which is, you can buy it from any hardware shop. And you just need to, because electrical tape is colored, so you can buy whichever color you like. I'm using blue here. So you can just cut a slice of tape and then pinch the tape at the center so that it sticks together at the center pops up, and then just stick the 2 sticky parts to on the lane. Obviously, there's lane oil right on the lane, so you gotta take a piece of cloth and then maybe wipe away the oil from this area. So once you wipe away the oil, and then you can stick your tape on it. So because the center part of the tape is pinched together, so the center part of the tape is kind of sticking up. So if I were to draw the tape, it's gonna look something like this. So this is the center part of the tape will stick out like this. And this is, so these two areas, like this part and this part, is sticking on the bottom of the lane, and then this one is the center part of the tape that's pinched together, right? And then it's gonna be protruding outwards. So when your ball rolls over it, your ball will simply roll over the protruding part of the tape. So kind of when your ball rolls over it, it will just go through, then the tape will go down like this, right? When your ball rolls over the center. So your ball will roll over the tape, no problem. And then when your ball rolls over it, you will have a visual indicator that you have successfully hit that your target, because the part of the tape that's actually standing upwards actually rolls down. So yeah, I hope the audience understands that. So that is what we do for target practice in Singapore. So obviously you're gonna Boyd is at the stage where he has to practice different lines. So other lines that he has to practice is probably the line that he's playing. So he has to practice like this line, right? From here, going through third arrow. No, something slightly deeper line, sorry. So going through third arrow. So you probably need to put a piece of tape like here. So like tape here. Then he needs to put like probably a piece of tape here and then another piece of tape here, right? So you want to practice his ball motion by having his ball roll through these 3 tapes. So he's gonna do, so I would suggest for Boyd to do intensive training on this kind of target practice, like maybe put down the tape and then try to hit those same 3 tapes for like 20 to 30 shots before the oil changes. Probably the oil will change by 10 to 15 shots. So once the oil changes, you might have to like readjust the tape and then like change your lines. So like put another tape here, but your breakpoint tape should be around the same, right? So the tape at the breakpoint, probably like this tape at the breakpoint should be the same. Then the tape right before the pocket has to be the same as well. And then just change the tape at the arrow zone, right? Because you're just going deeper and deeper as the oil changes. Then you're gonna practice that. You're gonna practicing hitting those tape in order to practice your shot making and shot accuracy per se. And obviously you're gonna practice other areas of skill, because we don't see Boyd's spare game. So your spare game has to be top notch, right? So if you practice a spare game and then practice how to throw like a backup shot as well. So if you've seen Anthony Simonson, he has won a title throwing backup. Then you want to practice backup shots as a two-hander so that you can always have the option of playing down the left side of the lane at a tournament whenever you need to. And you could know if your lane is particularly dry and your spare ball is hooking too much, you also have the option of like throwing your spare ball straight with your backup technique, or throwing your spare ball with a backup technique so that you can hit your pin tents easier, right? So your ball doesn't hook away from the pin tent. So yeah, so these are the techniques that Boyd has to work on, mostly target practice, and then like backup shots, straight shots. He has to work on a lot on his sparing and all that in order to be the best bowler that he can be, in order to challenge the world's best bowlers on the PBA Tour. Okay, so I think that's that. So I hope this video is like useful to any bowler who is in like Boyd's skill range, which is actually quite rare, right? Because Boyd, this is a very, very good bowler that we're talking about, right? He's like knocking on the door of tournaments. He probably can win some amateur tournaments at his skill level, or maybe close to winning. Maybe he's like top 10, top 20, and then he has to make those next level of improvements in order to start to be competitive on a higher level, right? Which is like the PBA Tour, maybe the PBA regional tours. And then once he gets more experience there, then he probably can go on to the national tours if he gets a sponsor, like a ball sponsor and so on. Okay, so all the best to Boyd's bowling brand. And yeah, thank you for asking for a review, and we will see you guys next time.